But I find the characters really help. Because if I'm with this other person and they're going, man, and I see anger going, me, I'm just like, you're the cartoon dude. I can take care of you, right?
Welcome to the Brain Lady Podcast with your host, Karen D. Wood, the resident brainiac. Get ready for a mind-expanding journey as we unravel the mysteries of the brain from Notes from the Couch. Join us as we delve into the complexities and wonders of this enigmatic supercomputer. Fasten your mental seatbelts and prepare to have your synapses fired up. Welcome to the captivating world of the Brain Lady Podcast.
So welcome back to the Brain Lady Podcast. My name is Karen D. Wood, licensed clinical social worker. We got a little bit of a special episode for you today because we have the producer of our podcast, Mr. Villanueva, Bill, here with us today.
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks for having me back. I had fun last time. And
we're so excited to have you again. And we are back on unusual Notes from the Couch, which are supposed to be things we talk about in my counseling office, but this time is a continuation of a conversation I had with someone on a picnic bench while we were camping. And that person said to me, hey, what would your character be if you had Inside Out filming in your head? So that's what our last episode was. You can catch that. Be sure to like and subscribe on that one. And then today we're going to do part 2. And so we're going to just catch you up. So Phil's going to get on here the picture of Inside Out, all the characters, because I caught you up last time on the characters from Inside Out 1. So now we're going to catch you up on the characters from Inside Out 2 if you have not seen them. So here we have them. The biggest star of the show is Anxiety. So for the audio viewers, it's a little red character with a very big mouth. And this is Anxiety, and she steals the whole show basically on Inside Out 2. So Anxiety is the primary one because remember this time our girl that was 11 in Inside Out 1, now she's 13 heading into high school, ouch, 9th grade, where Anxiety is going to rule the show. Then we have Embarrassment. I love Embarrassment. Isn't that like the high school theme? And when Embarrassment shows up, he just puts the hoodie down and his poor nose just is left behind showing, which I think is a perfect 9th grade image. Then we have Ennui. It took me a little bit to get used to Ennui, who's this sagging gray character. She just drapes on the couch with her social media. But isn't that a beautiful 9th grade kid image? Just kid image, just laying on the couch. And then we have Envy, which, plays a big part in this play of what happens getting ready to go to 9th grade. What happens is our girl goes to a camp for ice skating competitions and hockey is the word I was looking for. So she goes to this hockey camp and all these social interaction things happen. So all these people show up on top of joy, sadness, fear, happiness, and disgust from part 1. So now we've got 9 characters interacting in this poor girl's brain, which is pretty typical of the hormonal wash that happens. So now here we are, all of us. And so what we got talking about after seeing the movie when we were camping was if we could have it being filmed in our head, what would our character be? So in the last one, I revealed that mine would be Complaint, a little bobblehead, clear Lego bobblehead, where you could see my brain and you could see the thought process of when I'm starting to complain. Hands on hip, she's complaining. So that was mine from last time, Complaint. And I really learned since I made that drawing how fast Complaint shows up, what I can do about her. So listen to the last one if you want to get caught up on that one. The other one we talked about was the sliding scale. This was a viewer on an Instagram. You can bring that one back, Phil. We can pull that in. I asked Instagram viewers what they thought theirs was. Oh, this is this is my precious niece, and this is hers. Can you get him to move again? Yes. This is hers. Nope. She's done. She's got 2 little kids she's adopted. She's overwhelmed. She's done. Nope. Don't ask. She's not doing it. I thought that was a pretty good because we just love Danny. Everything he does, we love him. So that was hers. Nope. So,
so good.
As you see all these, keep thinking about what would your Inside Out character be, because that's probably what's not your best state of mind, and then we can work on how to get to that better state of mind. So this on the screen is from an Instagram viewer. She said, suspicion for me, reactive, protective, though sometimes discerning or hurtful. She takes the reins probably more often than she should because it's better safe than sorry. I thought that was such an insightful one. And I didn't have time to make a drawing of that one, but that was really a good one. Another Instagram viewer came up with a name for hers that I just love, Delulu. Delulu, which is delusional for her addiction symptoms, trauma for my trauma, and I like how she keeps going. Empathy for my ability to come alongside others, and I feel my spiritual gifts would need a space. Discernment to go with empathy, and encouragement would be a huge one. So there's some of the more positive ones coming in that would be good. Partners with joy. Aren't those good ones? Yeah. And this precious lady, who's now a very dear friend, I responded, Delulu, she would make me chuckle all day long. So our job is to say, from my past, from my trauma, from my history, what are my neurons and structure in my brain that create these reactions and responses? And so what we're trying to do is say, as a viewer, what would your inside-out character be? So we're going to show you some more examples. And so there's Karen's confession of my complaint. Let's see, can you find another one, Phil? Oh, this is our co-host who couldn't join us today, Jermaine, because he's not feeling well. He drew a brilliant one. He's going through some hard things recently, so he just feels like a pillow. Just all he wants to do is sleep, because he's been going through these things for so long, and he's raising 4 kids. So I think if I raised 4 kids, I would be a pillow too. But I thought this was such a great character because when his pillow character shows up, he knows he's done for the day, for the trying, I just thought it was
nice.
I think it really put my drawings to shame, but anyway, he does. I do it on my computer. So this lets him know, his inside out character, pillow, that he's done. So I think that's a really important. So if you're feeling some doneness, good. Start looking at what your pillow character would look like. Oh, here's a good one. This was from a session this morning from a precious gentleman. It was our very first episode. You remember the guy that was the Super Balls, Too Many Topics, Too Many Topics, H?
Hey, that was the best. A good episode. Best launch right there that we had.
We had it. He's working so hard. He's got so many changes in his life. So here's a poster of a lost dog. He just feels like a lost dog. And here's why. It was really important. 2024 has too many big changes. Brother marrying, brother moving out, sister moving out, a precious dog died. So he feels lost because we've been talking about, hey, try to realize when you're in situations and you have no memory reference, going back to our hippocampus, when you have no reference of how to do this. That's why these lost directional signs in the background are so important. He has never experienced his sister, who's his rock, moving out. He's never had a beloved dog die. How do you do that? His brother's getting married. Uh-oh. But then, so there was a lot of question marks about how he's going to do these things, and he loved the lost look of this puppy. But then he wanted to add this exclamation point in the bottom right corner. So if you can't see the image, just know there's a huge exclamation point, because that's what he's going to say to his reactive self. Wait, these things I know how to do. I know how to notice my tension more. My brother moved out and I survived. So I'm going to be able to do my sister moving out. And so he keeps looking back on this. This really is his notice attention. Notice when you start feeling lost, what does that feel like? And he said he slumps. Right. So when you're slumped, you're lost. Go back to what your memory does know. If I don't have this good memory, what does my memory know? That I did well with my brother moving out. That my sister's been partially moving out. I've been surviving. So that's a lost dog. Now this one was a whole different deal. This was a whole different assignment. What do other people look like in your brain? Remember in Inside Out 1, they did such a great job of going into Dad's head, and there's all the dad characters playing sports and having all these reactions. And then they go into Mom's head. All the moms have pearls on them, and they go into the mom's head. this is going into her head with her ex. What does her ex look like in her head? And this is what she said. It's a creepzoid. He has,
Wow.
She knows the ex suffers from anxiety and anger, but she wanted him to have an alien look with some ooze. But yet she wanted the embarrassment character of Inside Out 2 to show up because she knows he gets embarrassed. And so now she's relating to him that he gets embarrassed, but she wanted splashes of that bacteria.
That is so good.
Was a pretty specific direction of how this character feels so dangerous for her in her mind. And all this was because they were having a birthday party together. So she was feeling all of this because they were trying to navigate how to have a birthday party for their now 7-year-old son, right? So that would be another assignment. You might have fun. So Instagram me what you think other people look like in your brain. That's a really good one. Because then if we can recognize it, if I'm feeling all the ooze in my mind, get back to my best state of mind, because that other person is not having their best state of mind, right? Next one, Phil, what else did we find today?
Ghost. Oh. What a word.
We've got on the screen a lady, a pretty good character of the lady, she thought. Her eyes are rolling up in her head. I don't know how to do that very well, but her eyes are rolling up in her head.
That's way up there.
She calls it eye-rolling cynicism. It's a cousin to snarky because she works with a lot of traumatized people, and they tell her the same stories over and over again. And they try to tell her they're not on drugs, and her eyes just roll. She knows they are. How long is it going to take before they confess the drugs they're really using and the men they've gone back to in human traffic? And she's just heard so much of this stuff. So she's become very cynical. So notice the tension. She's been working on notice when her eyes start rolling. Can she just close them a second, take a deep breath, and have cynicism go away? Because the danger is she's seen too much stuff. So,
yeah, I will speak to my fear. If you ever watched one of the episodes we've done, she's a habitual eye roller. Somebody asked her, "Can you stop rolling your eyes?" No, that can't happen.
I saw that piece. No, she couldn't.
So it's good, and I love that. I love that her honestly. She'll tell you exactly how she feels. I love it.
And this is why when someone comes to my office and says I've got anxiety, I say good, because it's felt. So cynicism and eye rolling can be felt, right? Hands in my hip and complaining. Ooh, you can feel it, right? My anger with the doorknob last session. I can feel that. So part of what we can do is to notice the tension. We'll go over that in a minute. So what other ones do we have?
Oh, I'll do that. But I want to make note. I love the hip hop kind of feel too. I don't know how I got the sense of hip hop.
She's a hippie.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Hippie or hip hop?
No, she's what you're feeling is kind of, yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, it's a little more hippie vibe.
We did this last episode. I think
let's go over this one again. This is a really serious one. A gentleman who's retiring, thinking his one box, we talk about putting topics in boxes. He thinks his one box is missing his coworkers. He just retired 3 weeks ago. But I could tell when he came in the office, he was just sagging and limp. And I said, this is way more than missing your coworkers. So we kept going, kept doing different boxes, and found out that there was a whole part of him that when he started thinking about retirement, these shadows of fear followed him. Did he fail in this job of all these years? And then there's actually a future shadow. Is he going to be able to do retirement? So we picked the word lament because it's a bigger word for mourning. So not only does he have to mourn, missing his coworkers, missing the hubbub at the office, the deadlines, the texts and everything, but there's a lot of history to mourn about his self-doubt and a lot of fears of his future. So and then we said, wait a minute, this guy who came and just limped on my office, last week you were here and you were so strong and vibrant. And he said, my wife is gone. She's tending to her family in Modesto. She hasn't been around for a few days. So then we realized he's lamenting not only the fact she's not around, but the deep shadows of her families, the way they treat her. And so now he's carrying that. Not only does he not have her, he's worried about all the things the family has spoken to her for all these years.
And of course, a husband missing his wife is huge for us. We're just big babies. I'm a big baby without my wife.
I'm glad you said it. I'm really glad you said it. Yeah,
I miss her right now. She's upstairs working. But
so this character, when I held this character up for him, I just did a fast drawing. The limp went away. He sat up straight. He says, I have a lot to lament. And I said, I'll help you with that. There's a lot of great stuff on the web on how to lament well, doing active exercises. It's really deep soul sadness. And this is 30 years of fear and self-doubt to be processed. That's a lot. But in making this character, he discovered that. But can't you just see the set of Inside Out where this guy just comes doubly walking in and you just feel the weight of him, right? So, good. That's another one, a little bit heavier. So one of the things we like to talk about in our podcast episodes is what is going on with the neurology of these things. And I introduced in the last Inside Out podcast that these creatures live in our brains, these characters. They're actually neurology that's formed. We have neurons that fire to make somebody's cynicism, make my complaint. They're like bad tree neurons. And until they're not used, they will not go away. So we talked about purposeful effort to be in a better mind space. And Inside Out 2 is just brilliant. So on the screen, we have the scene from Inside Out where she goes down in the basement. We don't know where she's going. I believe it's the soul. And these neurons form. The second she puts that memory in that pool of water, which I believe is the ventricles in our brain, then boom, these neurons fire. And when Joy plays these neurons, they're beautiful sounds. And then pretty soon anxiety starts going down there with her memories. And then when you play these neurons, it's negative sounds. They will never like you. You'll never fit in. You can't do this. And that's just a beautiful picture of these different kinds of neurons playing in our brain. So here we have joy and sadness working together, and these good new neurons are growing. And yet, when anxiety gets a hold of them, all different picture.
And anxiety, right?
You can see the uh-oh here of joy is looking in a memory, and sadness is like, uh-oh, that's a sad memory. What are we going to do about this? This is from Inside Out 1, where joy does not know what to do with that sad memory. And that's what we're saying to Double Lament Guy. Hold your double lament, but we know what to do about it. You don't have to worry. Join sadness. We'll figure this out. That's what your retirement's going to be clean. Because I told him, hey, dude, don't do anything for 3 months because you're going to be processing a lot. Didn't know it was this much, but that's what he was doing. So we're talking about a different concept now in the neurology of these things. So remember my cynical lady, the eye roller, said she had a current deep wound. And I said, ooh, what does your festering look like? And she looked at me like I was off. Well, of course, it looks like Uncle Fester from the Addams Family. So you have to know what that reference is about. But it's this crazy. Oh, no. Now I've got that in my head. So, yes.
It's festering in my head.
So those neurons are replaying the memories. Ooh, so the thing to know about neurons is there has to be a pruning of these existing neurons. And what shows beautifully, watch for this moment in Inside Out 2, when those blue lines go up, you see this thing wrap around it. It's called a myelin sheath. It wraps around and it fortifies. And that fortification actually has to break in the neurons before you can make new ones. So it's this whole neuronal process. So on the screen, we've got the emotional brain, which has a lot to do with all these characters, right? So it's got how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, the different brain parts that you can watch previous episodes to learn a lot more about these brain parts. But what happens is these are all connected by these neurons. And some of them might automatically fire to my anger neuron. And it might automatically fired to my flight. But what we're saying is, hey, I would like new neurons to connect better to my frontal lobe so I can view and plan this whole situation differently.
Yeah, just hearing you talk about kind of reading the different feelings and talking about the different emotions, and a lot of us kind of write different representations on paper. I had mine last episode. Man, I'm just thinking about what do you say when you recognize some of these emotions in others? For instance, maybe I have a loved one that just angry. No matter what I say, it could be positive, it could be like, how you're doing. It's just like all of a sudden that you see the inside out character just pop out. And so navigating through that, and when you're trying to deal with your own things and not be triggered by those things.
But I find the characters really help. Because if I'm with this other person and they're going, Randy, and I see anger going, me, I'm just like, you're the cartoon dude. I can take care of you, right? So it really helps to see these characters, especially if we know of the trauma trainings that I've written. If we know a person's been through high trauma, we know their hippocampus has shrunk. They can't access a good new memory, and their amygdala is swollen. So yeah, I am going to get more reactions, right? So, but if you can know that, then you don't have to feel threatened by it.
That's so good. So I don't have to necessarily respond to that or be entrapped. Good word. By it. Because honestly, we can kind of feel like we're being baited into arguing. Like, were you trying to just argue with me? And I'm like, oh.
I'm married to an attorney. What was I thinking? And he will literally say, you're just arguing with me. And I have to see the attorney walking in front of me. And you know how you have the scales of justice?
Yes.
In my mind, they've gone clunk. This is not justice. These are not scales. This is not even.
Yeah.
Step number 2, what's the outcome of the picture? If I bite the apple, I'm not arguing. I'm trying to make my point. Well, you're just arguing. You were always arguing. Ooh, remember my little sliding scale scare?
Yes.
Ooh, here comes my 7, and I'm about to say something really stupid back.
And that's hard. Yeah, that's so, for me, I don't know how if somebody starts a conversation, not to find understanding, but they start a conversation like they're right, you're going to be wrong. So they try to put you on the defensive. And so you kind of like have to disarm them. You have to try to convince them.
Another new inside out character in my brain.
Uh-oh.
The enabling binoculars. When am I actually enabling this situation? So if I'm kind, is that enabling him to say that rude thing another time? Wouldn't that be great? Enabling binoculars.
That's so good.
It's part of the literal scanning of my amygdalic system. It literally, amygdala scans for danger. Scanning. You could have, he's got a great shirt that I just love, Russell, that says loading humor. Please wait. It's about to come.
Oh, yeah. My ADD, and, thank God for ADD when you do shows, because it does help at times. Helpful. But so I have my humor, my dad jokes, and then this is going somewhere.
I'm hanging.
Is sarcasm? You could call the character sarky. I call it some people are sarcastic, sarky, and they're just like sarcastic, but like passive aggressive. But there's like humor. Wait, I'm not being passive. I'm just joking here. Like we're like.
Notice the tension. Am I just joking or am I sending a message?
Yeah.
Remember the girl, I'm just fine, in her hair, ponytail. She's really not just fine, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's a really good one. Humor and sarcasm is wonderful until you get to a certain line.
Yeah, there's a line, definitely.
So my little character walking next to me with the scale tells me where I am, then I can keep an eye on where that is, because then it goes up to being mean. You're still funny. But it's mean.
Oh, that's,
and way past passive aggressive. We're just into aggressive. We're trying to defend ourselves. So the more we can notice when my enabling scanner is trying to protect myself. Am I going to have to be this kind every day? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Just to enable this situation, right?
Sorry. I had a flash right now. Just like, how close did I get to the line? But I'm also naturally a peacemaker. So I don't like to hurt feelings. So, I try to just a joke, but I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, no. If I know, for instance, if I post a picture of somebody, I have to get permission. For me, because I don't normally posting a picture of me without my permission or say something, so that's the same way with jokes. Like if I'm going to joke with them in this way, I better be okay with them doing the same thing back. But if they try to one up, like, okay, wait a minute, you're crossing the line. I am.
Notice the tension. What's the outcome of the picture if you one up them? Step number 3, because if you can get our 4 steps in the screen, we can review that for this. Notice the tension. I feel like I'm being one up. That's a specific alert tension, especially in the male brain. Step number 2, what's the outcome of the picture if I one up? Well, then we're 2-upping and we're 3-upping. And now we're into 10-upping. That sounds like that could be a podcast.
Yeah.
But step number 3 on the screen of outcome-based thinking for our clear thinking method. Look at the outcome of the picture with acceptance. What that person said was insulting. That's a pretty hard acceptance. What would I look like? Because if I don't, we've got on the screen 5 states of mind. So on the right, I'm trying to find acceptance. But if I don't, I might get way into the weeds of resentment or getting hopeless or being confused and stuck just because someone made a little insulting jab at me.
Yeah.
But if I can say with acceptance, my best state of mind is, yep, that was an insult. Take my good deep breath, pull the body in. That was an insult. But what's the outcome of the picture if I bite the insult? Then we're going to be in the whole thing again. But now I'm enabling them. So you can see the mind just running around. It would be a great scene. I had somebody tell me sometime, you need to write a musical for New York Broadway of what it would look like, of what is inside of my brain, what happens. And you can see how active that would be, just trying to react to being insulted. Well, here comes so-and-so. It was an insult. Warning, warning, fire hose. Get out the fire hose. And then inside comes anger, trying to defend back. That's why Inside Out is so brilliant. It gets you a clue of what these things are doing. So we've got a couple more. Just let me show them at you real quickly here, just so you get an idea. So let's see which one you can find. We've got the chicken, the super balls. What can you find? Our amazing Phil Bill. So episode number 1. Remember H talking about other super balls. So while I was talking to him today, I just did his drawing as a character of trying to juggle all these super balls. And he loved the drawing. He's got a beautiful big beard. He's got earlobe ears. But remember, this was the first guy doing super balls. Now he's the lost puppy, but he's got the exclamation point. Because since the first episode, he's gotten a lot more tools on what to do with this uncertainty. So for him, it was really fun to see the Super Ball character. Lost dog is still a pretty heavy thing, but he's got the tools to deal with it. So he really liked seeing his caricature of all the Super Balls. Okay, I think we got 1 or 2 more. This was last night. Lady came in frantic. She's just frantic. She's got a hard life. This is the lady who made the picture of the oozing X alien. She says, I'm a chicken with my head cut off, but if I did have my head on, it would be blank brain. I wouldn't even be able to settle and tell you what was going on, which I thought was a pretty good picture of the frantic world she lives in, where she can't even land her thoughts. She's a dear, dear, dear lady. She takes care of a lot of people in her job, but this divorce thing and taking care of a baby together is just keeping her in the state of frantic. So think of a chicken with its head cut off.
There you go. That's all I was thinking right now.
And without being able to figure out what's wrong and how to land it. Because you've got to separate what's going on. So we separate into 4 boxes the insult of this birthday party that's being planned by her ex. And then we were able to land, what would you look like with acceptance? This is the first year she's not going to have her baby boy with her on his birthday. That's a pretty big insult to a mother's brain. Step number 3, what kind of mourning could you do on that night, right? So today, thank you for joining. We really looked at Inside Out 2, having more characters, and what would you look like? What would your character be? So we saw a lot of other people sharing, from Danny DeVito's Nope, to super balls flying around, to eye rolling, to complete despair, needing a lot of lamenting. So thanks for sharing, everybody that did. We'd like to hear more from you. So keep letting us know how these are helpful. And be sure to like and subscribe, share it. And then don't forget the book, Brain Prayers by Karen D. Wood. If you want to keep learning how to learn more about your brain, it's got brain parts in it. And then if you're a person of faith, how can you take one of these characters? I like Inside Out too. Envy is really small. She just stands in the hand. How can we take our characters in our hand? How do I take my complaint and say, oh Lord, what do I do with her? So use all the tools we've been talking about. Your clear thinking, get your breathing going, draw some characters, send them to us. We would love to see them. Might be another podcast. But mostly we want to say thanks for being here, and be sure and like and subscribe. And thank you to Philville for being involved today. See you next time.